Hi, and welcome to Black on the Mat, the space where culture, community, and yoga intersect through our lived experiences. We're your host. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Seisha. Join us on this journey to bring representation and shed light on often overlooked stories on the yoga mat.
We're creating an accessible roadmap into yoga for Black people, building a community in this predominantly white space.
And letting folks already into yoga know that we're here.
Hey there.
Hey, girl.
Welcome back. How are you feeling?
I'm good. A little tired from travel, but overall, I'm like, okay, we're back home. Everyone's graduated. I did some time in DC and we're back. How's life for
Did
you?
some time, like a sentence?
It's funny. So it's not like a sentence per se, but like when I go to DC, it's like going home because that's one of the places I lived. I went to school out that area. And so it's like you're seeing all these different people. And I'm just like, okay, I gotta see this person, I gotta see that person. So it doesn't feel relaxing. I mean, I enjoy the people, but it doesn't feel relaxing. So that's why I feel like I spent time in DC.
I hear you. No, it's the same thing going back to New York. I'm like, I was literally texting my brother and he's like, yo, we got to get pizza. We got to do this. I'm like, I'm not even coming yet. I don't have plans. So yeah, I get it. I totally get it. So that kind of brings me to the idea that we were talking about just a little bit ago that, coming home to a space, right? Coming home to that place, what does that feel like in the yoga space? A lot of the conversations that I've had, for some reason, people have like this idea that there's this yoga guru person, master yogi. Master yogi is a phrase I hear a lot.
Hmm.
And it's like, I don't know who you think I'm worshiping or bowing down to in this idea of a yoga practice, but I do know that like Kundalini is a little different than Vinyasa in that way,
Yeah,
right?
it is.
So I don't know the difference.
No, it's interesting that you talk about it. So for me, I feel like I can hear a song in my head, but I can't figure out. It's like who you with. There's a hip hop song. It's like I don't know who it is, but like who you with. I don't know if it's a DMX situation, but like who are you with? Like who are you representing? And I feel like there is that kind of feeling in what guru are you representing? Oh, I'm representing, Guru Ratna. I'm representing, Bikram such and such. I'm representing Anyangar. I'm like everyone's like I'm representing the Juvenuti crew. It's almost like kind of like it's not gang-ish, but it's like there's schools. And I sit here as a person of color and I question, is there some white-ish that's been taken from some Indian stuff that, they're like all representing and like, okay, I'm with this guru and I'm with that guru. But I guess let's start backtracking a little bit. What in the world is a guru? What do you deem as a guru?
Well, so I feel like in as far as a definition, in general, not yoga, not specific to anything, a guru, a person that you can seek a wealth of knowledge from because they have it, because they've earned this, the title of guru in a way that they have trained, they've studied, they've educated themselves, they've practiced enough, they've spent enough hours, whatever the qualifications are
Hmm.
specifically for that topic. Right. And so I guess that's part of the reason why I feel like I do and I don't understand how it applies or when it applies, maybe even in the yoga space. Because when it comes to like to vinyasa yoga, that and obviously we've talked about like the way this has been filtered through the physical realm more than the spiritual yogic realm at this point. But like we've come to that space. This is an entire practice to say that I studied with a person or I went to a yoga teacher training. That doesn't necessarily mean that I've studied under this guru, under this master, under these people. And so like for me, being that it wasn't a part of my education in this is very confusing as a statement.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, for me, going back to the term, because you brought up a point of it has to be earned. Well, who says it's earned? And what's the qualification of it being earned? And that's why I'm like, how do you how can you call yourself a guru? Like, at what point are you now a guru? And so, like, I am a dictionary chickie. And so I was like, let me look online and Google a couple different ways of what they talked about guru. So the word guru is a Sanskrit term. It means mentor, guide, expert, or master, someone of certain of knowledge of a field. Like, and then I saw this whole other terminology that was saying a guru is a teacher who teaches the spiritual and religious knowledge. A guru can be anyone who teaches this knowledge, but a guru can be a personal teacher. And it talks about Buddha being a teacher. And I know for Kundalini, the word guru is really important because it goes back into like the Sikhism. There's a connection to Sikhism, but there isn't a connection to Sikhism. Like, but like even in Kundalini yoga, a lot of people have like spiritual names. So you could take on a spiritual name, which I think was interesting. I went back and forth on the situation. And so a lot of people have spiritual names and they're like guru or something like, so my teacher, my mentor, the person who I go to for, wisdom from Kundalini yoga, his name is Guru Dharam. Now, do I feel like I need to worship him and send him like sit at his feet and do all these different things? No, I don't. But do I think that he is wise like a priest like? Yeah, I do. Do I think he has been in this Kundalini knowledge game for a long time to have the training and the skill set to, you know, be someone who could lead everyone in a certain path and just a certain style? Yes. But then I look at some other people and I'm like, okay, I see them trying to make themselves a guru. And I think of like a
Mm.
guru, I don't know, I think of all the bad things that have happened. I think of the guy who started Bikram. Do you know his story?
Mhm. There's a whole Netflix special on it if you haven't seen it,
Yeah.
for those watching. But yes, just the overall, which is absolutely some white people shit, by the way. The
See?
overall abuse of power is what I was gonna say.
See?
um the overall like this concept of like developing a following just for the sake of having a following, and the people will follow you and then you would just lead them to whatever you wanted to lead them to, versus getting into the yoga space and like actually getting to like feeling like you are doing yoga in this person's style or in a way that they've developed with knowledge that does actually bring you to your alignment in whatever way it's supposed to.
And see,
Very
that's the
different.
thing. I think that there is the modern day guru, which is that it's like, let me just lead you to wherever I can lead you so I get this financial gain. What I mean, that's what I feel, what we're currently seeing. Am I saying that there aren't people who are powerful, impactful teachers? Yes, there are, who I guess they could be deemed as gurus, but I feel like when someone wants to claim themselves as, putting their stake down, I am the modern day guru for this school or this teaching, it starts feeling really iffy. And as a person of color, I'm just like, I'm calling BS on some of these people. I'm like, I want to join a cult.
Right. And I feel like the concept of that cult following, for some reason, one, it feels good, obviously, for whoever the leader is, right? But I think there is a bit of crossover right now in the yoga community. And I'll say especially like in the development of so many yoga studios and so many spaces and things like that, where like it seems like that's the way that this is supposed to go. I'm supposed to give you this cult like following. I'm supposed to be so in and so dedicated to you, your practice, this space, this teacher, what they're telling me to do. And like the concept of how we talk about, yes, taking yoga on and off the mat. Like, so now it's infiltrated your entire damn life. And it's like, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. But are these even yogic principles that you're learning? Are these even yogic practices that you're getting? Or are you just blindly following this person because they said so?
And I think a lot of people are blindly following because this person said so. You look at a lot of the well-known teachers in the yoga community, no matter what kind of yoga you're looking at, they have a lot of these cult followings. Not everyone is like that. When we interviewed Faith Hunter, who has the ability to be deemed a guru, especially in the Black yoga community, but I don't think she positions herself as a guru. I'm creating this cult following, da 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 da. And so I feel like it's someone's intention that goes behind a guru. And when people want to be deemed as that guru, I think that's when I'm like, I'm suspect. Like when people are just doing their thing and it just happens to be that they're great teachers and they're just kind of moving along and whatever, and they're not trying to be like, look at me, follow me because I am the one versus look at me, follow me, I am the one. There's a difference. And like I didn't know when I did Kundalini yoga about Yogi Bhajan. I don't know if you're familiar with Yogi Bhajan or not.
I know the name, but
Yeah. So I found Kundalini just because I found Kundalini. And then once I was doing my teacher training, they're like, oh, Yogi Bhajan this, Yogi Bhajan that. Like, oh, but a lot of people are having issues. Well, he, like many other people who were in power, abused their power. There's alleged, sexual abuse and all these other things. And it's tainted the practice because they're like, oh, well, how can you do that practice if he so, was about all this lifestyle? And for me, the practice does not connect to him. Like, yeah, he was there, he, brought it to the West and all these different things, but the practice itself works and I don't have to use his name or feel like he was like, I don't have to feel like I need to idolize him to be a part of the practice.
right. And that makes complete sense. And I feel like even the concept of connecting just one person, one person's name, one title to a practice that technically is within all of us, right? That makes it really difficult for me to, I guess, tie it in that way. Talking about God and Christ and Jesus and this, that, and the other, and religion and, what you're tying into and what you're signing on for, blah, 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 and a YTT certificate and a divorce later. Um, thinking about that conversation, thinking about what we talked about at that point, where it's like, yeah, you know what, there are a lot of practices, Christianity being one of them, where there is a person. You look for a god, a title, a person up here, and that is not to take away from the Hindu concept of God, the Hindu gods, the stories that we learn in our yoga teacher training, and what we understand of the representations of God in these ways. Not to take away from them, but that's still not the same thing as saying Yogi Budget or somebody, a physical person that showed up here at this space, and you're supposed to just all of a sudden, I'm giving you all of this credit. I'm giving you, my entire practice is devoted to you. There are people who are studied at the school of Seisha because I brought yoga to their area of South Jamaica, Queens, and they had never done it before, never believed they could. So they only know to do
But
yoga
are
with
you a
and
guru? Are you
but
their guru?
I would not try to claim
But
that
let's
space.
backtrack it. Even though you're not trying to claim it, you think about back to the word of guru of, a teacher, a mentor, like you were the person who guided them into this practice.
And I don't know, I'd say maybe it's just because I am an educator myself. Like I'm just used to being a teacher and I fully accept my role as a teacher. I literally left the classroom and have yet to stop teaching because I can't. Like this is within me and I know that as a thing, but am I trying to, I guess, indoctrinate people into my school of thought and teach people this is the way that yoga is done. I don't see that. I feel like the concept of yoga is just so emanates from within you, and the concept of alignment. If you can't express that, and if that is not something that you can find with the way somebody is doing yoga, then that is not I don't know, it's not a school of thought, a practice, right? And I feel like that's where if I'm the guru, if I'm leading you into this, then I have to have this as the overall concept of how I'm teaching yoga. And I fully feel like I'm teaching Vinyasa yoga. I don't feel like I'm teaching a new school, a new thought process. I think I'm teaching it in a mindful way, in a adaptable way, and things like that. But you can follow me as a teacher, but I wouldn't necessarily claim that. And I don't feel like that's a need either. I don't feel like, I want a cult following to my retreats, yes, book me up. That's fine. Um, but I don't in any other way, shape, or form. It needed to be that people are following along with only the way I do it. Teach me something, show me. Like, I feel like that is also a space that is like created, that idea that now you can't learn anything else. You are the pinnacle, and people should be catching the drippings of what you pour out at all times. And I just don't see it.
So what's interesting is, and tell me if you resonate with this or not, I think we both have an aversion to the word guru. And I don't know, for me, maybe it comes back to my Catholicism and raised up in the church, raised up with Black people. It's like, what, how, who, guru? I'm like, am I being strict down by God? A lightning's going to come down because it feels very idol-like. The word guru seems very idol-like. And it's interesting because, like, when I was talking earlier about having the spiritual name, I fought it because I was just like, well, what does that say? Am I trying to become a guru? Am I trying to become something that I'm not? And at the same time, my spiritual name just kind of came in a very magical way. And so I use it, but then I don't use it because I have this aversion to saying that, oh, look at me, I have this name, and now I'm on the way to guruism. And I'm like, I'm not. Am I on the way to being someone who is a teacher of this different practices? Am I here to guide people? Yeah, I am. I do feel like I'm here to guide people, but I'm not a guru. Like, I'm always quick to say, like, I'll always tell people, I'm like the Harriet Tubman of wellness. I'm just one step or two steps ahead of you. I might have been on this path of, feeling chained and, locked, feeling stuck. And I'm just like, have seen another light that you might have not seen just yet. And I'm like, hey, look, come here. I noticed this light over here. That's what I feel as a teacher I am. So I'm like more of a guide, but I don't know. I don't like the word guru. I understand it, but I don't like it.
And I mean, I would agree that I definitely do think it has that idyllic like situation, that definition or that feel to it. I don't want you to idolize me necessarily. I'm not saying what I'm doing is so unattainable, right? I am not. If that was the case, I would have ascended by now, right? I would. I've made it to nirvana. I would have ascended. This is it. I would have just floated away on y'all bitches. That's how this
Just float.
works. And that's not the case. That's just not the situation, right? Like I'm also learning. I'm also like, as I am a vessel, I still need to be refilled. I still need to learn things. Still need to shape the rest of my life a certain way. And I do feel like it does create that, like, you should be like me and follow me and
Yeah.
to a T, everything that I tell you to do. And I'm not telling you to do anything. Maybe get on your mat, drink some water. But
I mean, we are guiding people in a way, but we're not saying this is the only way. My way is the only way, and come ascend with me. The heavens will part and life will be interesting. We're
yeah.
not. What I do think, and tell me what you feel about this, is there is one guru that I'm all for. There's one guru that I'm totally for, and I talk about it in each class. It's actually part of the opening tune in, which is that inner guru. I believe that we each have an inner guru, this divine energy that lies within each of us, this divine teacher that lies within each one of us. I think we often forget that that teacher is there, and we start doing what I say the shoulds. I should be doing this. I should be following that. I'm gonna follow this other person because they're a better guru than my inner guru. That inner guru is the only guru that I'm willing to accept. Period.
And I mean, that was the kind of the purpose of the conversation that I had with my uncle, and like, me bringing it up, it's within you. This practice is within you. Yoga is within you. Like, yoga is breath,
Yeah.
right? So if you can breathe and if you can find some sense of alignment, then you've done it. You've followed that space. You've followed that guru within you, because no one has been with you your whole life but you, right? Your mother birthed you, and then you separated from her, technically, regardless of how close you were or far apart you were at that point. You've been with you the whole time, though.
Mhm.
Right. And so, and this is where when people do things like the higher intensity therapies where they're remembering things and they get, you know, light therapy and things of that nature, whatever shrooms, whatever you're working with as your deeper levels, people always untap and open up memories that they had forgotten, that they had locked away, whether it's trauma, whether it's like blessings, it's just stuff that they have forgotten or blocked off. And as we find more of ourselves in therapy sessions, things like that, in the on the mat, I should say, in journaling, in all the ways that we find more of ourselves, we get back to the space where we are most aligned, where we find ourselves the most. I know I mentioned that in the yoga and relationships episode that we just had,
Mhm.
right? The concept of like, if the further away I feel from myself, the more I'm going to grasp whatever's over here on the sides, and I'm going to be pulled even further away from who I am, from my alignment, from being centered in myself. But the more I tap into that, the more I accept it, I can acknowledge that inner guru, that inner dialogue and mindset and alignment of who I am supposed to be, that's going to tap me into my higher self, my more assured self.
And I think that's important to tap into that person. Like, I get historically there was this need for a guru. It was the central role for, guiding students to their spiritual path. Feels like, we went through a space where, and we still are going through a space where there's a hierarchical dynamic that kind of goes with that. And I think what when we get caught up in that hierarchical dynamics, we forget about the inner guru, which is always there. Like you're saying, I think that is yoga. Yoga is connecting with that inner guru. And I feel like, so who's the guru? You are the guru. I'm the guru. Whoever's listening to this is the guru. We each are our own guru.
Can you think of a time where you feel like that felt different for you, right? Because I know as we get into this practice more, we can lean into that more. But like
Yeah.
when you started, did you feel more like, yes, I need to listen to what this person is saying, the teaching, I need
Yeah.
to be heavy on that?
Oh, definitely. So for when I first like when I started and actually liked yoga to some degree. Okay, there's a difference between the two.
When you decided to dedicate to yoga.
Yes, when I started to dedicate to yoga, I found myself trying to understand because I was doing a Iyengar and it was completely different than Juvenuti. Juvenuti, I love the fact that it had a monthly theme to it. It had, the spiritual aspect to it. That had the chanting. Whereas in a Iyengar, it was like you have to put your foot a exact certain way. You have to move your body in a certain way, otherwise you're off. And then getting into Kundalini yoga, which is its own kind of things or whatever, I felt that there was a difference for me. There was a difference for me where I was trying to figure out, well, what school do I want to be with? And that kind of goes back to when we first started talking, like, well, what gang am I joining? Am I joining the Juvenuti gang? Am I joining the Iyengar gang? I know I'm definitely not joining this Vinyasa game. So we definitely, we're not joining that one. And Kundalini, I'm like, this is other gang. I'm like, and so trying to figure out which school do I feel is the right one for me. I, it's so weird to say this, but I'm like, it's not like I felt like I didn't have a choice, but it was felt like I had to choose.
Mm.
It felt like I had to choose until I realized I didn't have to choose. But I guess I did still choose because I love me some Kundalini yoga. But it felt like I had to choose which one was right for me and what beliefs are right for me. Because where one says this is the way, this is how we do it, the other one's like, well, this is how we do it. And it didn't feel like there was gray lines.
Right. Okay. And I mean, I do understand that. And when we started talking about like the ways to choose the kind of yoga class you want to take, that was a part of it, right? Like, do the experience, try the different ways. What resonates with you? What makes you feel like, yeah, no, I feel really good after this. I want to practice the way these people practice, the style that they do. So I feel like It does make sense. And then I want to make clear to anybody watching or listening or whatever, that's exactly how it feels. You get into yoga and you get into this style and you try it and you're like, yeah, this is it. I feel so good. And then eventually you're like, oh, that's what they do over there.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm, maybe I want me some of that. And then and it just happens, right? Because you explore it a little deeper, you get a little deeper into it. Because I say openly, like I'm a vinyasa trained teacher. Like that's what I learned to do and teach. And that's how I got into the practice and enjoyed the practice. But I definitely have transformed my practice now into more hatha style, a little slower, a little more intuitive into my body versus like the sweat and the every breath is a movement. It's more like, I want to stay here for a little bit. And I acknowledge that for myself. And that doesn't mean that I can't hang in a vinyasa class. I can't enjoy it. I love it. I still love teaching it. I still enjoy that space. But for my personal practice, it is more this. And I feel like that's also a space that we can say, wait, once you get to a place where you feel like you genuinely have a personal practice, then you can mold it. Then it can change. But if you don't trust yourself to leave, to let go of your guru's coattails, whoever that may be, your teacher, your whatever, it's not going to really be a personal practice in that way. Your concept of developing is only going to be in this style. Can you learn stuff? Absolutely. Can you find some alignment? Sure. But it's not the same as this is what I do when I go to the mat because this is what I feel.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I still have teachers who I look up to, that I go to for guidance, not only just as a student, but as a teacher. Like, I feel like there's certain people who I feel have been really helpful along the way. There's certain teachers who I just see as respectful. Like, Krishna Kaur is a well-known Kundalini yoga teacher. She's probably at least, I'm gonna say 70s in age. And she's just kind of, she's an African American teacher, and she just has words of wisdom.
Mhm.
And so I appreciate the words of wisdom that I get from those teachings. And I think for me, a little bit different with Kundalini Yoga than I would say Yoga Nidra or, Vinyasa, Yin Yoga is oftentimes there's like this kind of what's called a Dharma talk. And I don't know if you do Dharma talks or not, but a lot of it feels like you're in church. If you're
Mhm.
is because Kundalini, some teachers will talk, go on for 30 minutes. Not saying I need someone to go on for 30 minutes before I start a practice, but some will go on and you're getting these words of wisdom on the certain topics. And so it feels good. And so I do enjoy hearing from some people. So I don't know. I feel there's a need for mentors, a need for teachers, there's need for guides. I think if you want to call them a guru, great. I can't fix my mouth completely to say someone's a guru. I
Right. Or
can't.
at least to say this is my guru. And so that's the thing too. I feel like we are both very much people who are, you do what you want to do. If you feel like this is what we're saying is nonsense, you need to stick to your person. I feel that. I don't necessarily adhere to it myself, but that is what it is. If you feel like, no, I have followed everything this person has said and life has been great, it still sounds culty, even saying it out loud. But if that's how you feel, that's how you feel.
And they're hella
Fantastic.
culty people. Like I do follow someone who is mad culty. I won't mention their name. I recognize it feels culty. Everything about it is culty. It's from one sales thing to the next sales thing. But at the end of the day, I really love their practices. I love their teaching. So I can follow along, but I'm following along with my hand out, like I'm here, but don't try to get me part of the cult. Like you're not culting me yet,
No.
and hopefully never. But like I really enjoy your classes, so I struggle with this feels so culty, but I really like the class.
And I think that that's kind of how, like, dealing with honestly any teacher is. Because I promise you, I could name a handful of high school teachers right now that would love it if their students were more culty, were following them at the words dropping out of their mouth. They just want that level of like attention and belief and whatever. And that fuels a lot of people. And the problem there is that that's ego. And so if you are following behind somebody that needs that, and you aren't the person that is knowledgeable enough to delineate between the two, you are following somebody down a path also of ego, and that is also not yoga. Um, that's part of the reason why that's a problem. But teachers in general are necessary. You need people to teach you things. From birth, we need people to teach us things. This is why I always say, like, I don't understand how teachers are so underpaid. That's reason number 9 million why I'm not in the classroom anymore. But like, teachers are so underpaid, and it's like, if all the teachers took a day off today, the country would be screwed, right? The world would stop because everybody would have to figure out what to do with their kids. But this is us as students moving forward. If you're a teacher, I mean, if you're a student in a yoga class, if you're learning about yoga, you show up to this class. If there's no teacher, you don't get to learn anything from the beginning. Right. So you do need people. We're not saying don't listen to people, don't follow people, don't take people's classes. It's just, who are you deciding to dedicate yourself to this person or this type of following? Is that right for you?
What is the difference between a teacher and a guru for you?
I would still say that level of learning. I feel like any good educator, any good teacher is still learning, is still trying to learn, is still trying to build themselves and build their wealth of knowledge. And somebody who has achieved this guru status is the wealth of knowledge, is the status, is the thing. And I am not saying that a person that has a wealth of knowledge, a lot of knowledge. I have a whole lot of knowledge. You have a whole lot of knowledge,
Yeah.
right?
But we're
I'm
still
not
learning.
saying,
That's why I feel
but
like
we're
that's why
still
we're always
learning.
teachers. You're
Right,
always learning. I can see the
right,
difference. That's why I'm like, okay, I can never be a guru because I don't think I'm ever going to stop learning.
right. And I always want to learn.
Yeah.
Like that dedication to being a student as well in the process, right? Because again, if you've done it all, if you've learned it all, then you should be ascending. You should be just so far above us earthlings that we can't even get in contact with you, and we have to read your teachings from the scribe that you have let down from your heavenly scrolls or whatever, like something crazy. But if that's not the case, that's just not the case.
Well, I encourage people who are listening to this, let us know, what are your thoughts on gurus? Like, who is a guru? Should we have gurus? Are gurus just cults, in disguise? Or are we missing something? Let us know your thoughts and
Right.
put it in
And
the comments.
share those teachers, share those people. If you feel like, no, this is a guru and they are doing it right, we would love to see it and find
Mhm.
out what that actually means.
Yeah. On that note, we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
Ciao. Thank you for joining us today on Black on the Mat.
Let's continue connecting, sharing our stories, and sowing the benefits of having a yoga practice in your life.
Subscribe to Black on the Mat on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
I'm Seisha, and you can find me at Thick Thigh Yoga on all social media platforms and thickthighyoga.com.
I'm Danielle, and you can find me at HelloWell with Danielle on IG, YouTube, and HelloWellWithDanielle.com.